AFCFTA commences nationwide awareness to reposition market. Oil drops to $61.08 a barrel, and Asia stocks jump as European markets rise. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. The National Action Committee on the African Continental Free Trade Area has inaugurated a nationwide awareness and sensitization tool to prepare Nigeria in taking advantage of the FCFTA agreement while mitigating its threats to the economy. A statement by the communication coordinator of the committee, Zakari Jamaica, said the AFCFTA sensitization tour kick off from Kaduna State to Bauchi State and all other 34 states, including the Federal Capital Territory. The Secretary, National Action Committee on AFCFTA, Francis Anatogu, said the committee's mandate was to coordinate the activities of the private and public sector at the federal and subnational levels to implement AFCFTA for the benefit of Nigerians. He added that their strategy was to work with the states based on their areas of comparative advantages and priorities. If ongoing global energy transition moves rapidly, Nigeria, China, Algeria, Russia, India, Mozambique, Venezuela, Colombia, and Suriname may incur economic loss of about $400 billion. A report by Natural Resource Governance Institute indicated that the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, is signing contracts for key capital projects in the oil and gas sector. The report notes that investments should be reviewed to avoid loss by these countries. On the oil market, after rising above $60 for days, oil prices slipped on Wednesday, threatening to end the longest rally in 2 years as investors shook off industry data. Brent crude was down by 1 cent at $61.08 after rising nearly 1% on Tuesday when it touched 13-month high. U.S. crude dropped 8 cents to $58.28. Brent had risen for 8 days in a row, the longest sustained run of gains since January 2019. U.S. oil had gained for 7 days, the longest rally since February 2019. The U.S. Energy Information Administration said this week it expects production in the United States to rise in the second half of 2021 and in 2022, although it revised down its estimated output increase for all of this year. Now, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Temiperi Silva, says Nigerians may have to prepare for higher regime of the pump price of petrol, given the new fortunes of crude oil in the international market. With the price of Brent crude oil still hovering around $60 per barrel on Tuesday, Silva said a high cost of petrol will be inevitable and urged Nigerians to be ready to bear the pains of the impending new price regime. Silva, at the new COP inauguration Abuja, said the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, cannot continue to bear the cost of under-recovery or subsidy. Meanwhile, the Petroleum Products Price and Regulatory Agency says the landing cost of petroleum is over 179 naira per litre, while the expected open market price is about 202 naira per litre. To talk about oil prices, volatility, and Nigeria's energy security is a Professor Emeritus Petroleum Economics, former president of International U.S. and Nigeria Association for Energy Economics, who joins us via Zoom from Cape Coast, Ghana. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate your invitation.
Okay, global prices reach pre-pandemic levels of $60 per barrel. To what do you attribute the increase?
There are certain things you can attribute this to. First, there's economic activities picking up, which has been down before, and that makes demand to shift to the right. And OPEC doing the right thing, in my opinion, they're trying to manage the supply side of the oil market in terms of what they put into the market. So as a result of that shift to the right and a shift to the left of supply, the price is in the long run moving in the right trend. And I think, again, you see a diminishing stockpile in the US inventory. And those are some of the things that could really allow the price of oil to inch up. So that's expected. Higher economic activities, stable supply, and a situation in which vaccine is also making the future to look a lot bright, which makes the recovery of the economy to grow, and we expect the price of oil to go up. If supply...
Do you see these gains beyond $60 being sustained?
Well, it depends. I don't have the crystal ball, but like I said, if you manage the supply as the demand is going up, and if the market supply is rising up about the same rate, it could be sustained. And if economic activity continues to build up, it could be sustained, because the fundamentals of demand and supply. Because what happened is that the shift in demand to the left as a result of COVID-19 is why you see the price was dropping. Unfortunately, there was no quick response to be able to trim supply at that time. And that's why the price collapsed. But now that OPEC is up with their game, and they have a cooperation with what I call the OPEC Plus, it is sustainable. If the producers will manage their supply according to the guidelines of the market. But if they flood the market again, the price will collapse, because it's the fundamentals of oil and gas supply. Whatever is shifting demand, if supply is not shifted, then the price will tumble.
Okay, the federal government is considering
discipline. Yes, sir.
Okay, the federal government is considering to increase pump price. Is it always necessary to increase pump price when oil prices rise on the global markets?
Well, again, I want you to go to your record when you have time. And I've advised the federal government over the years that they cannot continue to be reactive. This requires strategic thinking. There's a direct correlation, even though it's not one-on-one, between the price of petroleum products, especially PMS, and the price of crude oil. This is a fact, because the cost of input into the refinery system to be able to determine the margin is the price of crude. And so the petroleum product must respond, even if not one-on-one, to a change in the crude price. But the government has just not, and I can understand. I mean, the social unrest is a fear that every political system must be afraid of. But you cannot continue to do the same thing over the years that has not added value. let go of price regulation. Your Ghana counterparts, they've done away with it and they have not collapsed. So you just need to do the right thing and allow the market to determine the price of petroleum product in Nigeria.
Okay, experts have predicted that constant oil volatility exposes oil-dependent countries like Nigeria to regular economic crisis. Is this what is happening? And what is the way out?
Again, thank you. I've advised the government over the years, as far back as 2013, when I said something to the effect that creating value from petroleum resource development requires strategic thinking rather than ad hoc thinking. And to me, you cannot continue to trade petroleum for more money. That will not sustain your economy. You need to think in terms of looking at oil as an input of production, not just a source of revenue for sharing and for prebendalistic lifestyle. So the way out for Nigeria, and I think they're doing a good thing now in their domestic policy with gas, whereby you target domestic consumption of gas for expansion of the economy. So if the government wants to move away from volatility of the oil price, they need to use oil to expand the domestic economy and generate tax revenue rather than revenue from oil. The government must invest a big proportion of their revenue from oil for infrastructure development, energy infrastructure, transportation infrastructure, and human infrastructure. You will see that the amount of money Nigerians spent on intellectual development in the 70s, that's why they are getting a lot of money remitted from the diaspora. That is the best way to use oil money, not to support an unsustainable lifestyle the way we've done over the years.
Now let's talk about Petroleum Industry Bill, PIB. Do you think is a perfect bill?
There's no perfect anything that human being makes. And there's no perfect law in Nigeria today. But the local content is a good example of a law. Even if it is not perfect, it can add value. The petroleum industry bill is not perfect, but could be perfected. I think it has a lot of more good things in it to grow the economy than things that can have negative impact on the economy. Quickly, let's look at the host community issue. The host community funding approach is homegrown. And if it is allowed to work, it will be like local content. Two, the fiscal regime, even though not perfect, has moved us to be competitive to a large extent to the people we are competing with. The lease administration has component in it that is going to make transparency and accountability in lease administration more value creation than before. The governance bill, even though I still don't like the dual regulation framework because of the cost, has been able to separate the role of policy from regulation and from commercial. There are areas of improvement, but I would not want us to throw the bathwater away with the baby. There is a positive expectation at this particular time, in my opinion, better than before, because the legislators and the executive are in sync.
So what's your expectation on the passage of the PIB?
Will not allow. Yeah.
What's your expectation on the passage of the PIB?
Well, I'm more optimistic than before because there's a sync between the legislative and the executive.
Okay.
I'm more worried about the executive than the legislator. And I'll tell you why. I don't expect the vice president, the minister, or even the presidency to give any attention to anyone concerning that bill at this time. I will expect them to direct them to the legislator, because that is the way it has been done before. The executive has submitted the bill to the House. Any additional contribution must be to the House, not to the executive anyway. So I advise the executive branch to stop giving audience to stakeholders, direct them to the legislator, because that is the way those stakeholders have sown seed of discord over the years. And I've seen them playing the same game even at this time.
Okay,
So,
what's Nigeria's
but
energy security like?
I'm optimistic.
Now, let's look at Nigeria's energy security. What's Nigeria's energy security like compared to other countries? And do you think the PIB will help much to give the required energy security?
Well, again, please, let me make a disclaimer. Anything I say is me. I'm responsible for it. And any mistake I make is of the head, not of the heart. I think Nigerian government is not addressing their energy security issue as quickly as I would have loved them to. And I don't want to make name. We need to be strategic in our thinking. More so, our energy security is going to be tested depending on the way we react to the energy transition. We must talk the talk with respect to energy transition, but we must walk the talk slowly. So if that is the case, we need to realize that the major reason why you're having problem with energy transition in other parts of the world is energy security. They foresee a situation in which the world energy producers will need their energy a lot more, and they will be stranded. And that's why they're looking for energy within their reach. Our energy security today depends on domestic use of our oil and natural gas. And we must do whatever we can as quickly as possible to develop it. It is absurd that a country of 200 million is distributing less than 5,000 megawatts of electricity.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Omowumi Eledare, former president of International U.S. Nigeria Association for Energy Economics.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay.
It's always a pleasure to educate the public.
Okay. Now moving on, micro, small, and medium enterprises, SMEs play a key role in the economy of any nation. In Akwa Ibom State, some entrepreneurs are lamenting the effects of COVID-19 in their businesses and are appealing for grant from government. Business news correspondent Joy Obani, who sought to know how they have been sustaining the businesses in the COVID-19 era.
Small and medium-sized enterprises comprise an enormous large part of the global economics. It contributes greatly to job creation, especially amongst the youth. Nowadays, in a complex, competitive, and volatile business environment with the challenges of COVID-19, some SMEs have suffered setback. In Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital, some owners of small business lament their challenges.
There are so many people that are unemployed, which we can conduct training to them, attracting them to join us and then go to other places, other campus and establish themselves. But since we do not have the facility, like the printer, the cost of printer and cartridges are very high now and is affecting us. Some of us here have not reported back because of that COVID-19.
This is going well, but not as we expected, because things are getting hard and things is even tough.
During this COVID-19 of a thing, it has not been easy for us. It's by the grace of God that we are surviving. So if government can help us for anything, we appreciate that.
2,000 naira before, 2-3 years ago, we are selling it now 6,000 naira. So we cannot compare.
An economist in the University of Uyo, Godwin Akpan, says every business have challenges, but despite that, business sustainability principles is important for steady and sustainable growth.
Try and expand. Expansion can come by you trying to incorporate people to share the risk by contributing capital. So partnership can be a way out. Go into cooperative so that the risk, some risk can be taken away from individual and shared among the members of cooperative who are doing the same set of type of business. Those cooperatives can also help them generate funds.
As the country experienced new normal as a result of COVID-19, small business owners in Uyo appeal for grants or loan with low interest from relevant authorities to sustain their businesses.
The Nigerian stock market has been on downward movement. The market still maintained a negative streak this Wednesday as the NSE All-Share Index lost 1.96%. Well, as you can see, the All-Share Index lost. The All-Share Index depreciated by 1.96%. A total of 366.8 million shares valued at 5.4 billion naira exchanged hands in 5,718 deals. The market capitalization stands at 21.2 trillion naira. Now moving on, still talking stocks, world shares rose to new all-time highs overnight and European indices strengthened with market sentiment generally upbeat on the prospect of fiscal stimulus and vaccine rollouts. Ineka Oko has summary of market activities.
Stocks in Africa were positive on Wednesday. South Africa GSE Top 40 gained 1.07%. Kenya's Nairobi All-Share climbed 1.03%. Tunisia's Tunidex and Ghana's GSE also gained 0.18% and 1.18%. Shares in Asia were also higher on Wednesday as Chinese stocks led gains among the region's major markets. At the close of trading, the Shanghai Composite gained 1.43% to 3,655.09 basis points, while the Hong Kong Hang Seng Index jumped 1.91% to close at 30,038.72. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 advanced 0.19% to 29,562.93 basis points. In Europe, stocks were modestly higher as traders digest new corporate earnings. Germany's DAX appreciated by 0.01% to 14,011.69, London FTSE 0.21% to 6,542.13, while France's CAC 40 rose by 0.13% to 5,698.11 basis points. U.S. stock rose slightly in early trading following the regular session that snapped a 6-day winning streak on Wall Street. Dow futures rose 74 points. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq 100 futures also both traded in mildly positive territory. That's global market update. Over now to Musa.
Thank you, Neka. The dollar traded near 2-week lows this Wednesday as demand for safe haven assets faded. How is the exchange rate? This is where we end this episode of the program. Don't forget you can access this and all previous episodes on YouTube, and you can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now. The hashtag is BizX. Join us again Thursday at 9:30 a.m. I am Musa Abubakar saying stay safe.